This is Diplomatic Ties on the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. On this edition, Nigeria-China relations spanning over several decades will be our focus. A decade after Nigeria became a sovereign nation, the bilateral relations between the Federal Republic of Nigeria and People's Republic of China were formally established, specifically on February 10, 1971. In the last 50 years, diplomatic ties between Nigeria and China have expanded with growing trade and strategic cooperation. On the international scene, China is considered to be one of Nigeria's closest allies and partners. It is equally on record that China is also one of Nigeria's important trading and export partners. Nigeria and China have a lot of things in common. One of such is the independence anniversary of the two countries. While China got her independence on the 1st of October 1949, Nigeria became a sovereign nation on the 1st of October 1960. Trade relations between both nations have grown in leaps and bounds. It is on record that during Chinese President Hu Jintao's state visit in 2006 to Nigeria, China secured 4 oil drilling licenses and agreed to invest $4 billion in oil and infrastructure development projects in Nigeria, and both countries agreed to a 4-point plan to improve bilateral relations, a key component of which was to expand trade and investments in agriculture, telecommunications, energy, and infrastructure development. Due to the robust diplomatic relations between the two countries, China, one of the 4 Asian tigers, has provided the finance for some projects in Nigeria. These projects include Abuja-Kaduna Railway, Abuja Metro Light Rail, Abuja and Port Harcourt Airport Terminals, Lekki Free Trade Zones, Ogun, Guangdong, Zungeru Hydropower Dam, University of Transportation, Daura. With the mutual understanding between Nigeria and China, it must be noted that although Nigeria maintains trade relations with Taiwan and has a representative office in Taipei, it is issued a joint communique with China in 2005, reaffirming that Beijing was the only legitimate government representing the whole of China and Taiwan is an inalienable part of its territory. Apart from the two countries sharing the same Independence Day anniversary, as China is the most populous in the world, Nigeria is the most populous in Africa. Available statistics has equally shown that as China is the biggest economy in the world, Nigeria is the biggest economy in Africa. Now, the economic ties of both countries have been of mutual benefit to them, with China being one of the largest importers of Nigeria's oil. Now, to discuss the nitty-gritty of the diplomatic ties between Nigeria and China is Tu Jianchun, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the People's Republic of China to Nigeria and representative to ECOWAS. He is the 14th Chinese ambassador to Nigeria. Your Excellency, you're welcome to Diplomatic Ties.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I am Nancy Godiangunihu. Once more, you're welcome to Diplomatic Ties, Your Excellency.
Thank you for having me. I'm very happy, delighted to have this opportunity to talk to you.
You're welcome. Let's start by looking at what Nigeria and China have in common, one of which is October 1 Independence Day. What do you have to say about this?
First, I want to speak to the Nigerian people. China, Nigeria, China, we have a lot of things in common. The biggest thing is about October 1st. We're celebrating Chinese National Day. You are celebrating your Independence Day. This is really important for the two nations that to strike a balance. How can we celebrate each other? I really appreciate your program. I really fully agree your comment, your assessment between China and Nigeria in terms of politics, in terms of economic sectors, and also cultural sectors.
We celebrate the same day. China and Nigeria are celebrating independence the same day. Again, China is world's most populous and biggest economy. And Nigeria equally most populous and biggest economy in Africa. Yours is of the world at the world level. Yeah? What relevance or impact does this have on their ties? How far have these similarities actually strengthened the economic bond between the two countries?
I fully agree with you that economic sector really is very important for the two countries. We believe that the economy, the people's life, is the goal for Chinese government, especially for Chinese Communist Party. I found that China is the number one in terms of GNP, not GDP. And the GDP, gross domestic product.
Okay.
GNP means the gross national product. So China is number one in terms of GNP by the year 2010. And I believe that in the coming 5 or 10 years, this is not my estimation. This is about the forecast from the international organization. China will be number one in the coming 5 or 10 years in terms of GDP. So I'm thinking that how the two countries work together. Nigeria is the number one country in terms of economy in the whole Africa continent. So I'm thinking, how can the two powers to work together? You have your issues, obstacles, difficulties. We also have a lot.
How have they used these similarities to strengthen their bond?
I'm thinking, how can we do things together? Because I realize my tenure in Nigeria, I want to share with you half years for me stay in Nigeria. I try to understand, try to know how the people lives, but I found that really the most important aspect is about the economy. So China now, we have achieved the great, we can see the great achievement for Chinese, the eradication of extreme poverty. Nigeria side, you have your goal by the end of 2030. That means the SDGs, sustainable UN.
Towards the
Yeah.
attaining that.
So I'm
SDG
thinking, yeah.
Goal.
Yeah, as the sustainable development goal. I believe that if the two countries work together, really Chinese the program, Chinese philosophy, Chinese way of doing business really can be applied to Nigeria sectors.
Records also have it that one of the largest importers of Nigeria's oil is China. And Nigeria is a beneficiary of China's infrastructure, financing, and military hardware. Can you explain further on this?
Really, this is very, very important, not only for China, especially for Nigeria. Chinese investment in oil and gas sectors. I want to share with you that Chinese oil company, we have 3, the leading international oil company, Sinopec, CNPC, and also CNOC. These 3 companies have business with Nigeria counterpart. I found that it's very, very critical from China to invest more to the oil and the gas sectors. So this is not new investment, this is old investment. And I believe in the coming years, really, there is the opportunity for China to invest in energy sectors. So to invest in the agriculture sector, agriculture and agriculture. So I'm working hard to try to bring the financial institutions to operate in Nigeria.
Okay. That's it. Now, from what I read out earlier, I said that China secured 4 oil drilling licenses in Nigeria. That was in 2006. And it agreed to invest $4 billion in oil and infrastructure development projects in Nigeria. How far has this agreement been kept?
The Chinese side has, what I have learned that the oil company has invested more than $10 billion US. really a big investment, more than 10 billion US dollars.
More than 10 billion.
10 billion US dollars.
It has exceeded the target $4 billion that you are meant to invest.
Yeah.
That's commendable.
This is really now especially under the current the petroleum, we call the Industry Act. That really is very important. How can we attract to get more international companies to visit in Nigeria? I think that oil sectors really is important, but more important is agriculture. You just mentioned infrastructure, and especially how can we solve the food security to let Nigerian people, especially people in the rural areas, to get eradication of poverty.
Yeah, you said you want to expand more on agriculture. You also expected to expand more on telecoms, energy, among others. What's your take?
I want to share with you my strategy. My predecessor really has done a lot. I want to share with you that during the past 50 years, the two countries work together. We support each other in terms of the political sectors. Now I'm thinking that how can we have a holistic and a comprehensive and a complete approach, and to push the relations and build the relations of the two countries. I found that it's difficult if we only focus on infrastructure. For example, if we build a railway, if nothing could be transported, this is useless of railway. So I'm thinking, how can we do the big things, not piecemeal approach?
Now, complaints abound as per trade imbalance between Nigeria and China, saying it is a lopsided kind of relationship, master-servant relationship. How do you say this?
We have a very, very special policy for African countries, including Nigeria. China is open to the international community. I want to share with you every number 5th to number 10th. We have the International Import Expo held in Shanghai. This initiative is proposed by Chinese President Xi Jinping. We welcome the international companies to export their product in China. So I'm working hard. How can we get the product from Nigeria? I know that in Egypt, in Rwanda really exporting chili to Chinese market. South Africa exporting wine. Egypt, they could Ethiopia export sesame. So Nigeria, we have.
So China's relationship with Nigeria is at par. You know, they are on equal pedestal.
Yeah.
They're on equal pedestal.
The thing that the key is that how can we have the opportunity?
It is not that China is higher than Nigeria or Nigeria is lower than China.
You mean that lopsided trade? We are encouraging, give incentives to the Nigerian business people to go to China to sell their product in Chinese market, because Chinese market is #1 all over the world.
So there is a no holds barred in terms of trade relations with Nigeria. Your Excellency will have to hold it here. We'll come back. You're watching Diplomatic Ties featuring Jianchun, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the People's Republic of China to Nigeria and representative to ECOWAS, the 14th Chinese ambassador to Nigeria. And he is throwing more light on Nigeria-China relations. Now let's continue the conversation, Your Excellency. There have also been calls for technology transfer and the establishment of Chinese industries in Nigeria. How much of these have been or are being addressed?
Technology industry really is important for every nation. Nigeria, you know, is the biggest economy. If we want to grow the economy, we not only focus on the resources-based economy, we have to build our economy based on technology and industry. This is my personal understanding and my assessment. In the coming 5 or 10 years, there is a need for us to have our industry, value-added industry, and also the application of technology. China is taking the lead in the industry. We call the first industry agriculture, second industry that we can manufacture a lot of things, the third service industry. So we found that how the two nations, especially young people, to let them acquire specific skill and experience and to build industry. So, for example, I'm thinking how can we have more value-added manufacturing factories for the Nigerian young people, not only create jobs and generate incomes. I do believe that there is a big potential.
Now, before we continue talking on the technology aspect of these bilateral ties, China, as you are a representative of China to ECOWAS, what's the relationship between China and ECOWAS?
ECOWAS, Nigeria taking the lead of ECOWAS. Nigeria really have done a lot for ECOWAS. So in the 15 countries here, Nigeria really played a major role in leading ECOWAS to move forward. Chinese government, we are working hard with the countries members of the ECOWAS, especially here, the secretariat here in Abuja. So we are doing things, try to make the contribution. Now we have decided to have a big building for the headquarters of ECOWAS Secretariat here in Nigeria.
In Abuja?
Abuja. Okay. So we will start this work this month. The Chinese team will be here in Abuja, and we will have our plan start to, now everything is approved from Chinese government and also approved by the Nigeria government. So we believe that Nigeria in this region can play a major role to do a lot for the countries of this region. So China is working on this agenda with ECOWAS countries, especially we are cooperating, supporting Nigeria.
Now we go back to technological development. Is the 5G Nigeria, 5Gist Nigeria China Growth Development Program strategy, which is your brainchild actually, part of the technology transfer and growth plan? What's the main idea and meaning, since you are the originator?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You talk about 5Gs. I'm very happy to share with my heart what I'm thinking. You know, I presented the 5Gs Nigeria China GDP strategy on July 8th. This is the 100th day for me in Abuja.
2021.
2021.
Yeah.
So I arrived in Abuja on March 31st. So I presented officially to His Excellency, the Foreign Affairs Minister, Oniyama.
Yeah.
So he is very pleased. He told me this is really excellent document, this excellent strategy to direct of the two countries. I would like to share with you that the 5G gist is easy. How can let people remember? Sometimes it's difficult because of language barrier. So I find the word gist, the main idea.
Yes.
So gist here, 5G, 5I, 5S, 5T.
Okay.
The logic is that I found that if we only play solo, duet, or trio, I think it's not adequate for us to deepen, broaden the relation between the two countries. What I'm thinking, I use the word symphony, because symphony needs orchestra, needs different instruments.
Symphony is music you're talking about now.
Yeah. So I think
and
that,
you know people like music.
Yeah. So I try to give the big picture to Nigeria people, the government. Okay, the two countries, we would like to perform symphony orchestrated by the leaders of the two countries, two presidents and two foreign ministers. So we use the words the symphony, BRI symphony, for the next 50 years. This is my thinking. How can we do things together We use the string instrument, percussion instrument, and woodwind instrument because Nigeria, you love music.
Yeah, we do.
So we
You can use music to attract attention. Like you were saying, explain further. What are the 5T needed? The guarantees, the 5S, and conditions needed for the implementation of actualization of this your dream, the 5 gist.
Okay, I want to write first. The 5G means 5 go. That we need specific and targeted. How can we do things together? Without the goal, we don't know the direction. We don't know how can we achieve the goal. So we listed 5 goals. First is political consonance. Second, economic cooperation. Third is about the military and the security collaboration. The fourth is international coordination. The last is people communication. So you find that 5G, we have 5C.
Yeah.
So it's very easy for the people to remember, okay, political consonance, this is really very, very important. During the past 50 years, we have no fundamental problems. The two countries work together, support each other. But how can we
consolidate?
Yes. Try
and
to sustain it.
Now, sometime in June this year, we learned that Nigeria has commenced loan repayment to China, obtained from loans obtained from China from infrastructure projects, including the standard gauge rail lines. Are you considering anything like waiving some parts of the loan? Is China considering?
First, I want to share with you, China really provides concessional loan to Nigeria in terms of in the area of the infrastructure, for example, railway. And this loan is done by the Chinese the Export-Import Bank. China the Chinese government, the taxpayer dollars to the Nigerian infrastructure really have generated a good effect to Nigeria economy and also to the way of life of Nigerian people. You just mentioned that the biggest constraint for the developing countries, including Nigeria, how can we get money to get support from international financial institutions?
Yeah.
So really now we are working hard. How can we find enough resources to sustain the development, the building of infrastructure?
Something will actually happen. Thank you, Your Excellency. Let me ask you quickly. How have relations between Nigeria and China fared in the face of COVID-19?
COVID-19, I want to share with you, we are cooperating in New York. This month, your delegation in New York and work with Chinese, we also have a delegation, the mission in New York. We work together to support the fair distribution of vaccine. We believe the vaccine is the most important weapon to defeat COVID-19. So in this area, I have done a lot. First, I report to Beijing, get the support from Beijing, from the central government.
For Nigeria?
For Nigeria. Before we have agreed to donate 500,000 Chinese Sinopharm vaccine to Nigeria. We are working on the.
When will that happen?
I hope that we are waiting for the government.
Okay.
So there's no problem for China. So now how can they finish their formalities? Then we can bring the Chinese vaccine here. So I'm also working for the second batch of Chinese Sinopharm vaccine here. So this is about the vaccine. Before this stage, China has provided PPE, the material, the supplies.
And I did, yes.
So this is reflects relationship, reflects friendship, reflects support of two countries. The third point I want to make really, we are thinking about how can two countries work together to have the technology to produce vaccines in Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for coming on Diplomatic Ties.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have been discussing Nigeria-China relations, which, as we heard, have grown in leaps and bounds. And to Jianchun, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the People's Republic of China to Nigeria and representative to ECOWAS, the 14th Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, has done real justice to the topic, while reiterating Chinese government's commitment to strengthening ties with Nigeria. Diplomatic Ties comes your way again, same time next week. Thanks for watching. I am Nancy Godi Angunihu.